Hi guys, it's Samantha Tab. This is my Module 10, Community of Care for Our Students for AEP 880. So, I started by reading the provided articles and I'm going to do a summary of those articles. So for the first one, it was 3 essential priorities for school principals. I'm just going to literally do the cliff notes, which obviously is a summary. The first one is emphasize a caring and inclusive school environment by having a positive school climate. Number 2 is equip staff and faculty to embrace their own leadership roles, which would mean like taking advantage of the people, not taking advantage, that is a horrible, knowing the strengths of the people within your building and then using them for the school's advantage. I really did like the quote that says, I also need to know how to grow my teachers into leaders. I need to know how to develop a culture where teachers take risks. And then also, that would go along with trusting your staff to do the right thing and take care of the school as a whole. The third one would be collaborate with your community. Community engagement is essential and ongoing. The second one that I did was how feeling respected transforms a student's relationship to school. So this article talked about when students respect teachers, that behaviors naturally go down, and I do feel like that as an adult. If I'm respecting the people that I'm working with and respect the people that I'm working for, I'm going to be better, and that also applies to kids. So it does, in the article, it did say that suspensions have been linked to later school dropout and referrals to law enforcement. That's why we need to take this very seriously. It is found that teachers can view respect as cooperation and compliance, but when it comes to students, respect is a basic recognition of your humanity. You should just be respectful, not respect is not something that should be earned. What can we do? We can build empathy. We can get to know our students. We can listen to them and we can hear them, because I do believe that there's a difference between listening and actually hearing what people are saying. So I do think that our students, they need to be respected. And when they're talking, we should be listening and relationships should come first. All right, and then the third one was creating a warm and inclusive classroom environment, planning for children to feel welcome. So this one really talked about how when you go into a place in the classroom environment, it really makes or breaks how a student feels about school, which can either increase or decrease productivity, learning, and most important, like how someone feels in an environment which would be safe. Like that is a basic need for anybody. Everyone, wherever they should go, they should feel safe. And when they don't, like that's not a good feeling to be in. And we as adults can regulate, and we can, I guess that would be the word that I'm trying to use, is regulate our emotions and our feelings, and we can channel that into other things. Whereas kids, that's a learned thing. So we need to create a safe, nurturing, respectful environment for our students. And some ways that we can do that would be through classroom design, the layout, decorations, and organization. Procedures, routines, class meetings are a must. Everyone should have a class meeting. Conflict resolution, and that should be also modeled by the teacher and any adult in the school. Social contracts are super important, how we should act and what happens if we don't act that way. And then problem solving. And then the last one would be classroom strategies, like a sense of community. We need to have positive interactions, empowerment. There does need to be expectations. Things should be modeled. And then when things don't go our way, or even when they do, a large component of learning is reflection. We can't learn unless we can't be better unless we reflect on situations in our lives. And the last one is strategies for building a productive and positive learning environment. The quote here I really loved. Positive learning environment should offer a climate of safety where risk taking is encouraged. There is open, authentic conversation, trust and respect are fostered, and positive interaction is the norm. I literally loved that because anywhere I go, that is what I want it to feel for myself. I want it to feel for my students, especially in a time right now where COVID, where we were inside for an extended period of time. We need to feel safe. We need to have real conversations if something's not going right. We need to have trust and respect and positive interactions. Right now is not a time to be negative. It should not be a time to be negative. So some ways that we can do this would be within our classroom is making our learning relevant. Get to know your students, know what they like, and bring that into your classroom. Codes of conduct, positive and negative behaviors need to be addressed in your code of conduct. Um, Positive actions curriculum. I know our school does our social emotional learning. And for some students, these behaviors do need to be taught. And we all have every emotion, but making it aware and bringing it down to the level of our students is what's important. Like when you feel like this, you need to do this because those things don't come naturally. They do actually have to be taught for most kids. Intrinsic motivation, positive actions that help students feel good about themselves, changing the negative to the positive. Those things need to be present as well, especially in a time like right now. We need to be reinforcing positive behaviors and then always respond with positivity, even if the situation isn't really positive. There's something positive during any situation or the outcome of any situation. Some other things that I think need to be known well are relationships do come first, especially at a time like this. Talk about yourself so that students are more willing to share about themselves. The more you make yourself seem like a real person, because we know as teachers, they're like, they see you out in public and they're like, you don't live at school. Like they really, like the younger kids don't really think we're real people. And so like the more we talk about our lives, like our kids and our dogs and like what we like to do or funny stories about our lives, they will be more open telling you about their lives. Um, and then get to know your students and bring their lives into the classroom. Get support when you need it. Guys, we all have bad days. We need to ask for help sometimes. You need to rely on your teammates, rely on the families, and sometimes the only thing that gets us through the days is our students and their smiles, and we need to be able to find support in other people. Enthusiasm is super important. Optimism is super, super important. Being flexible. Nowadays, I feel like we really, really need to be flexible. But as a teacher and working in a school right now, we definitely need to be flexible. And then what comes, again, relationships first. And it's funny that I kind of put this one last. But we need to have positive family and community relationships. Not every relationship is positive at first, but we do need to make sure that for the most part, our relationships are positive. Okay, so the articles that I found the 4 articles, and I'll give a summary of those as well. So the first one that I found on bullying prevention was the 5 tips for teachers, principals, and parents. Practice what you preach, which would be modeling. Assess the extent of the problem. So when a problem arises, you need to make sure that you have all the details before you go all in a situation where you don't know all the details. Develop a school-wide code of conduct, unacceptable behaviors, and then the consequences. But then earlier, it was funny because this one didn't mention any positive behaviors, but I would incorporate positive behaviors into my code of conduct. Increase adult supervision, and we'll go over why that's so important later. Visible and vigilant. That was a quote from the article, and I really did like that is true. Visible and vigilant. Conduct bullying prevention activities. So all school assemblies, campaigns that elaborate on the view of the school, and then contests that bring school values together all in one would be ways to prevent bullying. Another one that I found was another 5 best practices to keep kids safe. So it mentioned restorative justice, which would be mending relationships and building the relationships after they've been broken. Support groups, positive relationships. Shared concerns from those support groups, positive relationships. Communicate. You don't know what you don't know, so we really need to communicate. And that includes teachers, students, families, community members. If there's a problem, like you need to communicate because we can't just assume that everybody knows everything that's going on. Our lives are busy. We need to make sure that we're having the communication. And that's super, super important. And then the last one, and I love this one because I wish that as adults we did this more. This would be a good time to model, encourage kids to do what they love. When we're doing what we love and we're talking about it and getting so excited about it, our students are more likely to do the things that they love, especially when, as a teacher, when you know what they love and you're bringing it into the classroom. Is that not like the best? So, create positive, lasting friendships with the people who like to do the same things as them. And it builds confidence because they're like, I love to do this. I thought I was the only one. And then they just build these friendships, which prevents bullying because they have these people around them that love to do the things that they do. They don't feel alone. They don't allow themselves as much to get bullied. So this right here is a lesson that everybody should be taking, especially at a time right now. Bullying prevention. No school district is immune from bullying. Okay. We need to be clear on that. So we need to implement a school-wide bullying prevention program. We need to survey the students to get the extent and then also get the recommendations. Students are super smart. We need to jump into that. We need to get their point of view on situations. We need to recognize that cyberbullying is more prevalent than ever. We need to train the staff, increase supervision. Less supervision is more likelihood of bullying. And then we need to make resources available for all people. What are the best ways to prevent bullying in school? All 50 states require bullying prevention programs. I did not know that. I just learned that, and I loved that I learned that. So, but keep that in mind that just because it's a requirement doesn't mean that prevention methods are put into place and that those, when they are put into place, that that's enough. It's not enough. Awareness is key, and we need to bring that awareness out. So, creating a positive school climate, advancing social and emotional learning, already went on that. Knowing what bullying looks like at different ages. I think it's wild that I've only taught kindergarten and first grade, and I could literally be a high school principal one day. I need to know what bullying looks like at every single age. This is so wild to me. But it's definitely something that I'm dedicated to, and it would be a passion of mine. Schools cannot do this alone. We need to know our students. We need to know the families. We need to know where they come from. Some students are the way that they are because of their families, or they are the way that they are because of the people that they surround themselves with. It doesn't just have to be their families. We need to know our students, okay? All right. The next one is the different types of bullying. So there's name calling, teasing, rumors, pushing, shoving, hitting, slapping, kicking, leaving people out. I hate having FOMO. Threatening, stealing, sexual comments and gestures, and then email and blogging, which surprised me that that one was just as low as it was. Maybe because it's email and blogging. Kids that age just do like social media and stuff. I don't know. I'd be interested to look at more data based on that part right there. But I did love that it had percentages and stuff and it really makes me sad. Where does bullying happen? This is where the be visible, be vigilant. The classroom, hallways, cafeteria, PE and gym, the bathroom, and then outside at recess are all the most prevalent places that bullying happens. And then what do I think is missing? Supervision and accountability, holding people accountable when they see bullying. Okay, so I bring it up to the counselor. Do I know what happens after that? We need to hold each other accountable. Like, it doesn't just stop with me. I am a classroom teacher. It goes beyond me. I'm not allowed to handle those situations to a certain extent, but I need to be following up. Accountability. And then what happens when steps are followed? When you're building is relationship first. When we recognize who is more susceptible of bullying, there's teacher training, accountability, and more supervision. Bullying will decrease. Bullying will decrease significantly. And then here are my references. I'm about out of time. But thanks for watching.